intelligent talk that's sure to raise the IQ.
Here's Guy Wehman, Ben Brunson, and Frank Vernuccio inside the news.
Welcome back to our next segment of Inside the News, traditionally our international segment, and we're going to stick with that this week. Frank Vernuccio, Ben Brunson, myself, Guy Wehman. Okay, Ben, we've talked about Armenia. We've talked about Azerbaijan before. We've got the Georgia pipeline, and we have some nukes that are starting to raise their heads a little bit, and I've actually heard some of that on the election trail, and we'll talk about that in our third segment. But, Ben, go.
Well, the Armenian-Azerbaijan war has become a fairly hot war. What is interesting, and this is not one we're going to get involved in, the U.S. has been leading the international effort to bring about a ceasefire with so far unsuccessful results. We've talked about this in recent shows. Turkey is openly supporting Azerbaijan. Turkish fighter jets, F-16s, are operating out of Azerbaijan airports. But the fighting is really fascinating as a glimpse. It is a glimpse towards the future of warfare, and it shows a trend that I know is concerning at the Pentagon, and there's a lot of focus, and that is the use of drones by lesser military powers. Azerbaijan has been using advanced Turkish drones that are technologically on par with advanced American drones. They have purchased Israeli drones that loiter over the battlefield, the Israeli Harap, which can loiter and has its own intelligence, can look down and find targets of opportunity. And then these drones initiate a kamikaze charge onto that target. So it's made the use of tanks and other armored vehicles a deadly proposition. It has essentially denied those armored vehicles access to the battlefield by Armenian forces or pro-Armenian forces operating in this conflict. So this is a future of what war will look like, the use of drones, drone swarms, advanced drones that loiter over a battlefield. And it is a wake-up call. You know, this technology was the exclusive province of the United States 10 years ago. It is spread around the world at this point. And it is really a wake-up call for everyone in the war-fighting community in this country, that we have to be cognizant that this is what our future enemies will be armed with, even if it's not a nation state like China or Russia, even lesser states. When you talk about in Azerbaijan, that is not a sophisticated country, and yet they're deploying very, very sophisticated weapons right now.
You know something, Frank, as Ben was talking there, that you have a lesser country, a lesser state able to wage war with drones. It kind of reminds you of like a video game. All you need is a couple of little pieces, parts, and you're in the game. You don't have to be one of the major players, Frank.
Well, one of the things that we're seeing both in Armenia and Azerbaijan, as well as in the negotiations with Moscow for the renewed nuclear talks, is that the myth perpetuated by the left that somehow or other war is old-fashioned and it's not going to occur. We can slash our defense spending. This is something that the Biden campaign has pushed most vigorously. And it's obviously wrong. We're seeing hotspots throughout the world. We're seeing China and Russia, and by the way, Putin and Xi Jinping are talking about moving their defense establishments closer together. We are facing massive international threats at the same time that you have an element within the United States, particularly on the left and in the Democratic Party, that wants to slash defense spending. Sometime in the next few weeks, the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, will be looked at by the president. Whether it would go through Congress or not, we still have to find out. But clearly there are two distinct paths. One is to keep America safe and secure with an adequate defense, and the other is to replace the eagle with the ostrich as the national symbol, stick our head in the sand and pretend that no foreign threats exist. This is one of the salient differences between the two candidates, between the two parties. The danger is manifest and clear. Whether we face it will depend pretty much on how this election turns out.
All right, Ben. oil prices, the Georgian pipeline fracking and all, even in Europe, we've talked about it before that Merkel's buying energy from Putin, but yet oil prices and gasoline at the pump, that could very well go up here during this holiday season.
Well, it might. I don't expect much change in the United States given the state of our energy production, but this is a salient issue. This is perhaps the biggest issue that is front and center in terms of this election coming up in a few days. Donald Trump wants to maintain something we have sought for decades in this country. And if you're old guys like us, you know that we have dreamed of energy independence for the last 50 years. It exists now. We are not dependent. We could shut down the oceans and still survive with our energy production inside the United States at this point. We've dreamed about it for a long time. It exists. And the Democratic Party wants to throw it out the window. They want to go the other way. Joe Biden couldn't have been more clear in his desire, his acquiescence to the left wing of his party to end the oil industry, end the fracking industry, end the carbon-based fuel industry. The problem with that, there's a first order effect. Millions of jobs will disappear, great jobs, high-paying jobs, but there's a second order effect that's much bigger. And when you drive up the cost of energy in a modern economy, it has a horrible impact throughout the economy. It drives down growth rates. It drives down it ups the cost of business and conducting business, the cost of capital, the cost of investment. So this has a huge impact. Economics will bring about a change over time as the cost of oil goes up and the cost of alternatives goes down. But an artificial implementation of that solution too soon can destroy our economy in a way that exceeds anything else we've been talking about.
This is Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio inside the news. We're going to have to take a time out here. That was Ben Brunson, the author of the Falstaff, Enigma, and Esther, Sling. You can find his books at Amazon.com and more about Ben at benbrunson.com. Frank Vernuccio with the American Analysis of News and Media and also the Minute Report for America. You can find more about Frank at usagovpolicy.com. Visit our website, itnradio.com. We have to take a time out right now as we dream at night of oil derricks instead of sheep. Back.
You're listening to Wehman, Brunson, and Vernuccio, Inside the News.